Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's segment of the Power Up series. Lisa is going to bless us with all kinds of knowledge again. So I'm going to let you get started.
Okay, awesome. Welcome, everybody. Like Tammy said, this is, I think, number 4 in our series so far. So we've been sharing a lot of pretty cool information. And mainly what I'm trying to do is show you guys easy ways to improve your health and to gain control of your body's full ability, your God-given ability. You know, we're powerful beings, and we need to realize that. So one of the things we're going to talk about in this series, and that's what we're talking about today, is called Earth radiation. And I'm going to share my screen because it worked out well last week with the colloidal silver, where there's so much information. I just want to make sure you guys can go and screenshot it if you want to, and you'll have that information. So give me a second while I bring up my screen share. Okay. Can everybody see this? See my screen okay? Okay. Good in presentation mode. Okay, so today's Power Up series episode is Earth radiation. It's otherwise known as geopathic stress. Now, what is Earth radiation? Like I said, it's also known as geopathic stress, which actually means disease of the earth. And the Greek words geo, which means earth, and pathic, meaning disease, geopathic stress. So geopathic stress is actually caused by underground streams like running water, fault lines, mineral ore deposits, caves, oil veins, underground railroads, motorways, underground tunnels, building foundations, quarries, etc. It can also be caused by like the Curry lines of the earth. So it's basically anywhere a physical disturbance of the earth occurs. Geopathic stress actually, it alters the frequency of the natural healing energy, which is a sole factor in many serious illnesses. So actually long ago, this is pretty cool, long ago before homes were built, they would dig up an anthill and they would put this anthill where they wanted the location of the home to be. And ants like the geopathic stress energies. Humans do not. Okay, we should not live over top of geopathic stress, and we'll go over why in a minute. But ants really like this energy. So if the ants stayed, the home would be built elsewhere because that meant there was geopathic stress in that area. If the ants left, then the house would be built and it would be a nice safe place to live. They actually also did this with farm animals. If they were going to build a home somewhere, they would put, let's say, a bunch of sheep in a pasture on property and let them live there for several months. Then they would butcher one of the animals and look at its internal organs. And there would be holes through the liver, different kinds of diseases and things that the animals would get just by living over top of this geopathic stress, if that was the case. If the animals were healthy, that meant it was a healthy place to build your home. Now, if a home is built over top of geopathic stress, as you can see in the image here, this could be an example, each of these red lines as like 2 underground water veins crossing, which is causing a disturbance in that center home there. Okay, so if a home is built over top of the geopathic stress, it causes a disruption. The negative frequencies are actually sent from the earth up into the building. And then the human body uses all of its energy to fight off these disruptive frequencies from the earth. So you have no energy left to fight off disease. There are many symptoms of geopathic stress, and I'm sure a lot of us can relate to some of them here, but I'm just going to go over the list. This is only part of it. Headaches, dizziness, eye and throat infections, cough, nausea, gastrointestinal issues, difficulties breathing, dry, itchy skin, fatigue, difficulty focusing, heart palpitations, smell sensitivity, body aches, tightness in the chest, psychological issues, depression, ADHD, problem sleeping, and nightmares. Some other symptoms of geopathic stress are sleepwalking, resistance to medical treatments, poor health, cramps, nervousness, tingling in your limbs, feeling cold all the time, grinding your teeth, and stiffness in your neck and shoulders. Now, how can you tell if you're being affected by these underground energies? So, for instance, did your health issues begin shortly after moving to a new home? Do you feel better when you're away from home? Or your office? It could be your office too, someplace that you're going to be most of the time. So, do you feel better when you're away from your office? Do you feel uneasy in your home? Were the previous homeowners that lived there unwell? You know, what did they have wrong with them? Where did they sleep in the home? Do you feel worse during the wet weather? What happens during the wet season is there's more underground water, so it's moving faster, and it's pulled that faster flow is causing more of a disturbance in the earth radiation, the geopathic stress. Does your home feel cold or damp? And then, are there cracks in the floors and the ceilings and the walls, in the foundation of your home, outside on the sidewalk? Do you have oak trees on your property? And we'll go over why that's important in a minute. Do you have bushes that are growing oddly? You know, you have a whole hedge of bushes and there's a big dent in the center of it, and you don't know why that portion isn't growing. You're doing everything the same, but why is it different in that area? And most likely it's because of the geopathic stress. And how many of us have ants in our homes? If you have ants in your homes or bees building walls, those are two positive signs that you have geopathic stress in your home. And do you have issues sleeping and nightmares? You know, we went over those side effects as well. So that's one of the big ones. Now, children, young children especially, are very sensitive to geopathic stress. If you have a child that cries a lot and just can't be comforted, they have issues sleeping. When you go and get them out of their crib, they're pressed up against the bars of the crib, you know, or in a totally opposite position as they were placed in, always tossing and turning. They won't sleep in their own bed sometimes. You know, they say there's monsters under their bed or in their room just so they can get out of there and go somewhere else. But there was actually a study done, and 90% of babies who died of SIDS, sudden infant death disorder, or sudden infant death syndrome, they actually slept over top of the geopathic stress zone. Children can develop hyperactivity, eczema, and allergies as well, just by sleeping over top of this geopathic stress. There's actually a researcher in Germany, Kathy Bochler. She did a survey of 3,000 school children, and she found that 95% who suffered from learning disorders were actually hyperactive, fell asleep in school, or were always misbehaving. They either slept over top of geopathic stress or their school desk was sitting upon it. Now, the first years of life are very important for children. You know, and if those children are forced to sleep over top of the geopathic stress, it can later manifest into a sickness. They can become withdrawn and bitter, you know, on top of that. A lot of psychological issues just from, you know, sleeping over top of it. It's a silent punishment, what we're doing to ourselves and to our children unknowingly. And like I said, how important it was. I mean, many years ago, they used to determine if a home should be built in that area with the ants, with the help of the ants and the animals. That's how important this energy used to be. So how did we forget it? How did we forget the importance of it? One thing that Kathy Bachler asks in her book, and I'll go over that in a little bit as well. She said, if you hear somebody like parents complaining that their baby is crying constantly and it can't be comforted, just recommend to them to change the location of the bed or the crib. That alone can help immensely. Now, pregnancy, geopathic stress affects the ability to conceive. 90% of those who cannot conceive sleep on top of geopathic stress. Geopathic stress is also the cause of infertility in over 50% of cases. It can also be a contributor to miscarriages. And this is not only with humans, it's with animals as well. Now, there's geopathic stress seekers, ones who love geopathic stress energy like the ants I was talking about. And there's also geopathic stress avoiders. Now, these are just some of the geopathic stress seekers. There are plenty more, but things like cherry trees, plum trees, nectarines, peaches, elderberry bushes, oak trees, fir trees, asparagus, ants, bees, insects, cats, bacteria, and parasites. They all love that geopathic stress energy that's harmful to us. Okay. So for instance, let's go back to the cats. If you have a cat that loves to sit on your lap or sleep in your bed, most of the time cats are energy transformers. So they jump up and they transform that energy. They'll sit on you briefly, but they usually don't stick around for a very long time unless you're sitting in a geopathic stress zone. So they'll be there trying to transform that energy and help heal you because you're getting hindered with the geopathic stress energy that's affecting your health. Now, cats, bees, and ants, they all love the most powerful form of geopathic stress, and that's where two underground water lines cross. I actually have beehives, and the first thing I did, because I'm a Dowser, is I went out and I found where two geopathic stress lines cross, and that's where I placed my hives. And they flourished. Ants will always make their mounds or their hills where two geopathic stress lines cross as well. And cats love that energy as well. Now, if you have a lot of oak trees on your property, oak trees around your home, plum tree, cherry tree that you did not plant, of course, but just a natural growing oak tree or a fir tree, that means there's geopathic stress most likely in your home as well. So just keep that in mind. Okay, now these are geopathic stress avoiders. These don't like geopathic stress. Okay, humans are going to be on this list as well, but apple trees, pear trees, nut trees, lilacs, sunflowers, beech trees, linden trees, begonias, azaleas, some form of cacti, not all of them, but some. Now, dogs do not like geopathic stress either. Horses, cows, pigs, chickens, birds, even fish. They don't like geopathic stress. But let's go back to the dogs. If you have a dog and you have to put the dog in a kennel, maybe the dog doesn't like going in the kennel because it's over top of the geopathic stress line. Dogs, the most obedient dog will disobey just to get away from that energy. That's how harmful it is to these dogs and to us. So just keep that in mind. If you have a dog that's disobeying, or won't sleep in its bed, it's sleeping on the floor instead of its bed, try just moving the bed to a different location. It might just simply be that. It might not be that they don't like their bed or their kennel. Now, cows actually, like I said about the pregnancy miscarriages, affect the cows. You know, this geopathic stress is so strong that sometimes you'll have the cows come in from the barn, they're from the outside into the barn, and they're all programmed pretty much to go into their associated stalls. They all have their specific stall to go in. Once in a while, you'll have a cow that just will fight you. It does not want to go in that stall. And more than likely, it's because there's geopathic stress that runs under that stall. And it's harming the cow. And how else can the cow tell you that besides not go into the stall? Now, birds. So birds, they do not like geopathic stress. So a good idea would be to hang your birdhouses or your bird feeders in trees that do not like geopathic stress. So like apple trees, pear trees, the nut trees, the lilac bushes. That's where mine are, in my lilac bushes, and my birds love them. So now so these trees, like the beech trees and the linden trees, if you want protection, if you're out in the woods and you need protection from a lightning storm, an electrical storm, you want to go underneath one of those trees. Now, the previous trees under the geopathic stress seekers, like the oak tree and the fir tree, you want to avoid them during an electrical storm. That they actually draw in the electricity from the atmosphere as well, because it's connected to the energy that's underneath them with the crossing water. And lightning strikes oak trees almost more than any tree because of that. It's pulling that extra energy out of the atmosphere. So never stand under an oak tree during a lightning storm. And also, you know, I'm sure you've all seen the burls that are on the side of trees. It's actually tree cancer. You know, people make cool things like bowls and stuff out of them, but you're not going to look at trees you're going to look at trees in a different manner now, I'd say, because every time I see a burl on a tree now, I just think, oh, it must not like where it's growing. It's growing a cancerous tumor on it because it doesn't like that. If you see a tree that's growing twisted, you know, instead of, or it's like growing towards the area as much as it can because it doesn't like being in that area. It's over top of the geopathic stress and it may not like it. Okay, so Kathy Bockler, she wrote a book called Earth Radiation. And I'm going to hold it up here so you guys can see it. I should have mirrored this. So this is a really good book. She actually is from Germany, so this is translated into English, but it's a great book. She wrote a book, the book about the startling discoveries of a Dowser. So if you look at this chart right below here, what she did is she went into about 3,000 homes and didn't know anything about the home, didn't know anything about geopathic stress in the home, like where it was located or anything. She took her dowsing rods in and she doused the home and found where the geopathic stress was in the home. For instance, if she found that it was in a bedroom, like where it says brain tumor over here, this person, that's their bed in that bedroom. And if she found there was geopathic stress crossing at the head of the bed, then almost 100% of the time, that person had something wrong with their head. It depended how long they slept over that area. If they had just recently started sleeping there, their head might just have small pains. They might just have a dull headache. After a while, it will turn into a migraine. And after years, it could develop into a brain tumor. But you can see all the different examples here. You know, cervical cancer, it would be crossing, and it doesn't have to be two lines crossing. It can just be one underground water or a fault line, you know, anything like that. Crossing over top of your bed or underneath your bed, I should say. And it's going to draw that etheric energy away from you that you need to heal. So what can we do about geopathic stress? Well, the first thing we need to do is detect the geopathic stress zones. And you do that simply with dowsing rods. Okay, dowsing rods or a pendulum. You can make your own dowsing rods, just simple L rods. You don't have to be a professional dowser to find geopathic stress. You just have to know how to use the dowsing rods. So you can even get a coat hanger and just make a couple quick L rods and detect it that way. I just did a test. We have 3 underground underground streams that run underneath our home, and I know where they're all at because I doused them. And then I gave the dowsing rods to my niece and my daughter and my son, had them all randomly walk in front of the house to see where the dowsing rods turned, and they all detected where the geopathic stress was, even for those guys who had no experience using the L rods. Now, how do you get better? If you are suffering and have been sleeping over top of these geopathic stress zones most of your life, what do you do to get better? You simply move to a geopathic stress-free zone, and that could simply be moving your bed a foot away from the wall. You know, it really depends on where the geopathic stress zone is. If there's geopathic stress all through your home, you would either need to move to a new home or do some things to remedy the geopathic stress that's in your home. But once you do go to a geopathic stress-free zone, your recovery is going to begin immediately. And Kathy Bachler proved that in her book, and I'm going to read some of those to you in a little bit here. So what else can we do about the geopathic stress? You can have a dowser come in, a professional dowser, and cure the geopathic stress. They simply can find the geopathic stress, and curing is either putting a copper pipe in the ground or a cure rod, which is usually a copper wire, right across that geopathic stress and deflecting it in a different direction. But it's not something that you want to play around with because it's going to affect everything on the opposite side of that geopathic stress line. It is so powerful, this geopathic stress. Okay, for instance, oak trees love geopathic stress. Bees love geopathic stress. So most of the time when a bee makes its hive, it's going to make it in an oak tree. Now, the oak trees, let's say, are on top of the underground running water, and that water is going underneath your home, and you want to deflect that. So if you cure that geopathic stress line with a rod of copper, the instant that geopathic stress is deflected from that oak tree, those bees will fly away and relocate because that energy, that geopathic energy, is no longer there. And soon that oak tree will die. So just keep that in mind. That is how powerful geopathic stress is. One thing that you can do to cure the geopathic stress in your home is to put cork board. Like if it's underneath your bed, put cork board underneath your bed. And then another thing you can do is to use energy transformation tools, you know, like orgonite, you know, different things like that. There's scalar energy and all kinds of things now, pyramids, and we'll go over that in a minute here too. And here's just some random facts. I did talk about this a little bit ago, but lightning strikes only where 2 water currents cross. And then things like spontaneous combustion, it usually only occurs over 2 underground water crossings, like hay. Like if your hay barn is over top of geopathic stress, you know, that would be something important farmers would want to know. Bees produce Pumpkin, no barking. No barking. Hey, no barking. Sorry, I apologize. So bees actually produce more honey when they're over earth radiation or geopathic stress. So that's why, for instance, before I placed my beehives, I went and found where 2 geopathic lines cross because I knew that would be beneficial for them. But also, a lot of car accidents happen in geopathic stress zones. And because of this, because of the high accidents, there's actually a place in India where they put pyramids along the side of the road, not huge ones, just small pyramids along the side of the road where there was a lot of accidents, and it lessened the amount of accidents that occurred there because it's a transformational energy tool. You know, it's helping transform that energy. And if anybody has any more questions after the presentation here, I'm going to get a hold of me. I should have put my email on here, but it's lisa@pyramidsurge.com. And you can go check out my website too. I have more information on there. And I'm going to stop the screen share, and then I'm going to read a little bit. So this is the book that I was telling you about. This is Kathleen Bockler's Earth Radiation. And I just wanted to read a couple of the different studies in there that she did. This one was really cool. It's about fish, actually. It said the aquarium stood at the same spot for 18 months. The small tropical fish always crowded into the left corner of the aquarium. Furthermore, they ate their eggs. So if you could see the picture of the fish, the aquarium, I don't know if you can see that very good. The geopathic stress crosses right in the middle of it. And the fish are kind of squished over just to the one end of the aquarium. And it said previously the aquarium had been located in a different room free of radiation. There they swam all around in their aquarium and spawned 3 times, producing healthy young fish. The aquarium was finally relocated back to the old position. She received a letter in December of 1973 that said, since we moved the aquarium back into the old room, the fish enjoy swimming throughout the length and breadth of their tank. They laid eggs after 4 weeks and took good care of their young. So just simple things, you know, just moving it to a new location. Okay, so this other one is, she did a lot of studies with about 3,000 school children as well. This is one of them. So during the first and second year of the child's life, his development seemed retarded and he did not talk at all. During the 3rd to 6th year of life, the child was mentally retarded. The school psychologist's judgment was this child needs to be put into a school for the handicapped. Through sheer coincidence, the child's bed was moved. So the first 2 predicaments, the child was sleeping in geopathic stress. After the child's bed was moved, suddenly all the effort and care of his intelligent mother brought measurable success. The child progressed in all areas of his life. He was put into a regular grammar school on a trial basis. To everyone's surprise, he came home with good on his first report card. Now here's another example. It's titled, Why Did a Divorce Take Place? A physician asked me to see his most difficult patient. The woman said, my husband was aggressive and always in a bad mood. He asked for the divorce. I have terrible pain all over my body, severe depression, and a nervous disorder. In many cases of alcoholism or marital discord, Mrs. Bockler has found the fundamental cause to be geopathic stress. And she said, considering the state of medical science today, we have to assume the presence of strong zones of disturbance whenever somebody dies young as well. Therefore, she recommends an examination of the house or apartment before there's ever a remarriage, because, for example, this next one, it shows you why. This is a different case, cerebral aneurysm. The man is healthy. The woman died at a young age. The man reports, my first wife was always in good health, but at night she suffered from headaches. Suddenly she had an aneurysm and died 8 days later. Now my second wife too suffers from headaches at night. After they moved the bed, everybody was well. So that's why she recommends, if there's an illness in the home, you know, make sure you cure those anywhere. Actually, all the homes need to figure out where these geopathic stress zones are. So when I first moved into my house, my uncle had built it 30 years ago, and my uncle committed suicide on the front porch. And nobody really knew why. I ended up having a reading from a medium, and they said that my uncle had he had a severe pain in his head and he just couldn't take it anymore. And I told that to my aunt who was married to him forever. And she said, that's really weird because when he was young, he had a bike accident and he had a hole in the size of in his head, the size of a quarter from that bike accident. And your grandma said he was never the same after that. Well, I guess that energy must have just been building up over time. On top of that, I had been learning about geopathic stress. So I doused and found where there was 3 underground water streams in the home that my uncle built. And so I wanted to find out from my aunt where my uncle slept. And one was right through the end of the kitchen where I see the ants all the time. Another one was right directly through the center of the living room. And another one was in the bedroom at the end of the hallway towards the other end of the house. So I assumed that's where my uncle's bedroom was. But she said, no. I said, where did Uncle Rick sleep? And she said, he slept in the living room on a futon. And his head was right here. And she pointed right directly where the underground water ran underneath the home. So on top of him already suffering an issue with his head, you know, he's being pulled and constantly sleeping over this, and it's just affecting him negatively even more. So it raises a lot of questions, you know, if it causes things like depression, suicide, illness. I mean, look how it affects the animals. If you guys get the books and do some studies on it and read about this, it's really powerful, you know. But I could go on for a while about it, but I would like you guys to do your own research because we're all going to find a lot of different things about it. But it's super simple to heal. You know, you detect where the geopathic stress is in your home and you cure it or move your bed out of the way. It's that simple. And you don't even have to be a dowser. If you have a dog and a cat, use them as your dowsing tools, you know. The dogs like the energy, the cats do not. So, you know, just if you have a cat and a dog that sleep together with you, it's more than likely the cat's coming over to help because you guys are not in the right spot, you know. So just keep that in mind too. But I'll open up for questions if anyone has any questions.
So okay, so Beth had a question in the chat. Did you want to get to that? Do you want to ask that question, Beth?
Sure. Lisa, on one of the charts where you showed the crosses and the head and the lung cancer and the breast cancer, you had RH in front of lung cancer and RH in front of breast cancer. What did the RHs stand for?
Well, that was a chart that I pulled off of the internet, so I'm not sure what that was. I should have looked into that beforehand, but I'm assuming it could be the blood type, maybe RH negative they're talking about. I'm not sure. I'll look into it for you though, you know.
I think it was right hand because it was over the right arm.
Oh, was it? I'll have to look. Yeah, I don't want to bring the screen share back up, but yeah, I'll look at that and see. You thought it was right hand?
Yeah, that's what he's saying. Yeah. Thank you, Beth.
What would right hand have to do with breast cancer or lung cancer?
Because
It
of the
was
way
on the
the crosses were going, it was over the right side of the patient.
Oh, okay. Well, I know the right side is determined as the male energy and the left is the female energy. So, you know, that could play into it. I'm not sure though. I'll have to look back for you and
Yeah,
see.
because that would mean then that you stay in one position. I don't know about anybody else, but I don't stay in one position all night long.
No, it's going to be where I mean, you could be swimming in the whole entire bed. It doesn't have to cross. It could be the whole entire bed is affected. That's how bad some of the geopathic stress zones are. I mean, look at we're talking about tunnels constantly now, all the underground tunnels that nobody knew existed. Now they're everywhere. You know, there's probably geopathic zones everywhere. There's, you know, I mean, I live on a property with oak tree, like tons of oak trees everywhere.
I'd really like to know that, Lisa, if you can figure that out. let me know.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Beth. Janice.
You're muted, Janice.
No, I just got it. Thank you very much. First thing came to mind real quick is I live in an apartment complex. I live in a retirement community complex with 1,200 other people. I'm up on the 3rd floor.
Mhm.
How do I know or find out where and whatever could possibly be affecting? How would I ever know what's under the building or what's on the 2nd floor under me? That seems like, I don't know, a challenge that I wouldn't even know how to begin to figure out.
All you need is a dowser.
And I'm sure there's a lot of other people that don't live in their own homes.
Yeah, all you need is a dowser to come into your home. You can get a professional dowser. They could come in with their L rods. And all you have to do is determine where it is in your apartment and then cure it. You know, you can still do things, you know,
Okay.
to protect yourself while you're in your own apartment from it. It doesn't matter that you're up on the 3rd floor and
That's what I'm asking. That's what I'd like to find out how I can do, how I can go about protecting myself. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'll get to you here in just a sec, Joni. The question I have is, well, 2 questions. What type of metal do you suggest if you're going to make your own dowsing rod?
Oh gosh, so copper is the most conductive. I think a lot of people, you know, but I have made them successfully with steel clothes hangers. You know, just clip clothes hangers. And, you know, I actually felt the most, these ones actually have like a metal holder, like a little metal pipe that allows them to swing more freely.
Yes,
You
yes.
don't have to have those, and they don't have to be metal either. So I found the ones that were most beneficial, the most reactive, were actually plastic tubes. If I had plastic tubes with the metal coat hangers inside, that was more reactive than these ones with the metal rods.
That's interesting. Because the who has metal coat hanger or hangers anymore? Everything is always plastic, you know, right? Who has metal anymore? And okay, so the other question I have is, if you're dowsing, because I haven't doused in a long time, when they come together, is that indication that there's that water source there, or is it when they go apart?
So what I always do is this is X marks the spot for me. So when they cross, that's what I determine as an X. And so what works for me might not work the same for you though. So it's all fueled by your intention, you know. So as I'm walking across the front of my house, you know, I'm thinking you have to keep your focus. You have to be focused on what you're looking for. So envision in your mind underground water. And just think about that. That's what you're looking for is the geopathic stress. Mostly I was just underground water for me. So I walk across the front, and as soon as I get to a spot, it crosses. And it's so sensitive that if you open them back up and you say, which way in your mind, talk to the rods just like you're talking to yourself or a person. Which way is the water flowing? And they'll both turn the same way and show you which way the water's flowing. Okay. So then as a dowser, you will know, if you know how to cure the geopathic stress line, you will know where you need to put the cure line. Since the water's flowing this way, you'd have to put it up this way of your house to prevent it from coming into your home, you know?
Okay. No, that's good. That's good. All right. Okay. Joni.
So it's funny because I live in a property that has a lot of woods in it, but I have lots of oaks, but I also have lots of beeches, and I have peach trees. I have like 3 peach trees that grew out of volunteer seed pits. You know, but I have all kinds of trees here. So, but we have a lot of oaks that are dying. So I'm not sure what that means. So my question is, do these things, does this geopathic stress move? Does it migrate? Does it have a tendency to, you know, so like what might be a problem now in an area? Could it move to another area? Is that something that has to be constantly checked?
I think so, because, things are happening underneath the earth constantly. I mean, the energy's shifting, the fault lines are moving things, and, underground water can definitely switch as well. So a new cavern pop open or something, like somebody could, strike oil down the road, now pull the oil in that direction or something. There's a lot of different things that could happen, but I would say, yeah.
And is underground water then? Because my understanding is there's always water moving underground, which, we've pretty much clarified, but there's always water moving underground. So is water underground always a geopathic stress?
I don't believe, from what I'm gathering, it's mostly that moving water. It's like the streams and stuff. It could, I know there's oceans under the ground as well, so obviously those aren't affecting us. I'm not sure, but I think we just have to be aware of, the energies, and, just like you said, if it is changing all the time, we know simple ways to remedy it. So just douse every once in a while and see if it has moved,
And putting like an iron, like a copper, like if you do the electroculture and you put the copper things in your garden to help you, does that also help mitigate that then too?
Yes, I
Get
believe
kind of a
anything that transforms the energies and makes them more beneficial. Yeah, because science tells us.
that's a twofer.
Yeah, science tells us energy can't be created or destroyed, but it can be transformed, and that's what we need to do. We need to find ways to transform the energies, because the bad energies don't seem to be going away anytime soon. So the only way we can, I guess, get rid of them is if we transform them into something good. So we need to start using the tools that we have to do that.
Thank you.
Maybe Mother Earth. That's one thing I think Mother Earth is calling to us with her crop circles. I think those are frequencies emitted from the earth that create those to help remind us that she needs help, help. So, it could be, it's all frequency. Everything's energy and frequency. And, if we start studying the earth, she can't help herself anymore because we're harming her so much. Everything that's going on underneath, we only see the stuff that's going on up top. But now that we know about the tunnels and everything that's going on underneath, can you imagine the devastation to her underneath?
Yeah, absolutely. Those are great questions, Joni. Thank you. So you said you were going to get to this a little bit later, but taking one of your pyramids or any of the pyramids and putting it over some of those stress points, will that help? What will that do?
Yeah, the same thing. Energy transformation tool. Like I said, those people in India did it along the busy interstate.
Right.
Where all the accidents were happening, and it deterred a lot of the accidents from happening.
So if someone has a pyramid, now will the capstones work for that as well? Okay.
Yeah,
any pyramid.
There's any type of orgone pyramids, just the regular pyramids. I have beeswax pyramids.
Oh, okay.
They all have different energies, but just the pyramid shape alone is going to help.
Okay, so you would put that into the spot that is causing the stress to help displace it and put it someplace else. Okay, all right, good. Beth, another question, Beth.
Oh, you're muted, Beth.
Lisa, you said you can put a cork board under your bed. What kind of cork board? Where would you look for that? Could it just be rolls? I know I've seen rolls of cork.
Yeah, cork is a deterrent of energy. So, if you have, it's just going to stop that energy. It's not going to get rid of the geopathic stress. It's still going to be there. But for instance, if you just have a closet on the first floor that's getting the geopathic stress, but your bedroom is upstairs, you could still just put that cork board underneath your bed and deter that stress from getting to your bed and to you while you're sleeping. Even if it was on the, would do it as well, but it's not going to get rid of the geopathic stress. It'll just get rid of it from hurting you.
And does that would it have to go like if it's a queen size bed, you need enough to be from under every corner and all the way around it?
Be safe, because you don't, you could be tossing and turning and moving over into the other spot or something,
And same thing, question also about the pyramids. let's say you have a 6-inch pyramid.
Mhm.
If that went in the underneath the bed in the middle, does that deter it from the whole thing, or do you need one in each corner, or
Yeah.
um
And the size of the pyramid and what it's made of and the geometry of the pyramid as well. So like I make Russian pyramids, and this is an orgone one, but most of them don't have metal in them, the ones that I make. And I have about 30 of them that are imperfections that I made and had made mistakes when I was making them. So I just put them in a grid underneath my bed. I have about 30 pyramids just back to back. Make sure they're all aligned to the north because they have to be aligned to work properly as well. But yeah, you could make your own. They don't even have to be professional looking pyramids like that. They could be made out of cardboard. You know, just the pyramid shape alone is going to help.
What do you
Because-
mean by align it to the north? Like I have my pyramid sitting right next to me here.
Mhm.
I didn't know anything about aligning it to like the north.
So one side of it, just like the pyramids of Giza, one side of the pyramid should always be aligned to the north. And it depends on what your pyramid is made out of, I should say.
Well, I got my pyramid from Charlie, so
So the Russian
you're-
pyramid is non-conductive material, so it should be aligned to true north. But if the pyramid is made of metal, then it would have to be aligned to magnetic north. And I have the directions on my website, pyramidsearch.com, on how to align to the true north and how to align to magnetic north as well.
well, I'm gonna have to look that up then because I didn't know that. I mean, I just sort of have it sitting here. So didn't know it's supposed to be like aligned a certain way.
Well, that's actually kind of cool that so you know what the energy feels like now. Once you align it to the north, it's to true north like it's supposed to be. You're going to activate it to its full power. So you're going to really notice a difference in energy.
Well, in some respects, it is probably pretty darn close to north, if it's not already, because I have it kind of sitting at an angle, and north would be in that direction. You know what I mean? So yeah, all right. I'll have to,
Depending on where you live, there's a declination, which is the difference between true north and magnetic north. So you need to find, I always use a declination calculator to find out how far my declination is. So like mine is -9 degrees west. So if I have a compass and it's pointing north, that's pointing to the magnetic north. So then I have to move the compass 9 degrees west, and that will be pointing to true north, if that makes sense.
well, it does a little
Yeah.
over my head, but it does make sense.
The directions are on my website too. It is a little confusing, but yeah.
Richard has his hand up. He actually has a question that is somewhat similar to what Melissa's asking about how do you use the pendulum?
Mhm.
And Richard wants to know, and he'll ask you this, you know, how do you learn about how to use a pendulum as well?
Yes, you expressed it quite well. I'm just curious on how to learn more about how to use dowsing rods and a pendulum, and wondered if you're going to be covering this or whether you know of any resources for us to explore.
Yeah, that would be a great class to teach, is how to use pendulums and dowsing tools. The thing is, some people, you know, classify them as occult tools and that you can be taken over by negative entities if you don't use them properly and this and that. I look at things in a different light though, because I feel we all have that God spark inside of us. So a lot of people, before they use tools like this, will pray and ask for protection. And I feel like when we ask for protection, we're manifesting or saying to the universe that we're not protected. When we all are divinely protected, we all have that God spark inside of us. So all we have to do is expand on that and know that you're already protected. So I kind of look at things a little bit different. You know, if you can use prayer as a tool or protection as a tool, I guess, until you get the confidence enough, built enough to develop that feeling that you know you're already protected.
Yep.
But that is some of the issue is, you know, people look at it as negative entities could come in or something, but I have never had anything bad. No negative type of experience when I'm using any of these tools, but and so this is one of the pendulums that I actually make, the pyramid shaped pendulums. And you can use this. I like using the L rods. I like using them for different things. So like this, you can still use the pendulum to douse where geopathic stress is in your home. You just have to talk to it and learn the different ways that it's talking back to you. So, you know, for instance, I'll say, holding your pendulum up, you can say, show me a yes. And actually, it can stop it at first. I like just swinging it a little bit, but you can say, show me a yes. So it's going in a circle right now, but eventually it will go up and down like you're nodding your head. So that to me is a yes. And then I'll say, show me a no. And then all of a sudden it starts going the other way. Back and forth, like you're shaking your head. And then you can say, show me a maybe, and then it will usually go diagonal, at least for me. But some people have it programmed where it goes in a circle clockwise for a yes, counterclockwise for a no. It really depends on what you feel it's calling you to know about it, if that makes sense. So one way you can teach yourself to use these tools and trust the answers that you're receiving is to play games with it. You know, for once I would get a bunch of index cards, like 6 index cards, and I'd put an X on one, and I would mix them all up and lay them all on the floor. And then I would take my dowsing rods and, you know, just envision the X in your mind and focus, where's the X, you know, and go over each one and see when the dowsing rods or the pendulum react. Another thing that you could do is, you know, maybe ask yes or no questions. You know, how many pieces of mail am I getting today? And you can say, am I getting 3 pieces, 4 pieces, 5? You know, go through all the numbers and see what it reacts to, and then see if that's true. But there's a lot of different things. You want to be specific though with the questions that you ask, so there's no like unknowns, I guess. So like if you say, ask a question like, what color is the sky? Or is the sky blue? Or yeah, you can't. If you say, is the sky blue, for instance, it could be gray today, but it could be blue indefinitely. You know, it's just clouded gray. So you just have to make sure you ask the questions the right way as well.
So, okay. So
Thank you. That's very helpful.
I want everybody to raise their hand who would love to have a pendulum class. Raise your hand. We want to get a poll of who would like to have like a little class about pendulums and how to use it. Don't be shy. If you don't want to, that's all good too. Okay. So some of you definitely are interested. So what we can do is Lisa and I will talk about it. We can set up some kind of a class. And the key is though, is that you're going to need something as a pendulum for that class, because I think that's exactly what we're going to do. You know, play some games with it, you know, have a piece of paper with an X on it. I love that idea. You know, start learning to tap into your intuition with the pendulum. Because, you know, I started going out and collecting different pendulums because there were ones that called to me when I'd be out looking, you know, at pendulums. And you do have to kind of train it at first. It takes a minute, you know, you just ask it a simple question. But then it's a lot of fun, because then you find that you're kind of going around just asking questions, and it's, for me, it has been accurate every time. You know, it has, you know, so yeah, that's awesome.
Well, you don't even need, what would work best at first, if you don't have a pendulum, is something that you're already attached to, like a necklace. You know, like one of the first things I used was a cross necklace that I had, because it's already tuned in with my energy because I was wearing it all the time. So that's one of the tricks too, is when you get a pendulum, you want it to program and get used to your energy. So keep it in your pocket. Don't let other people touch it and get their energy on it. You know, kind of those types. Put it under your pillow when you're sleeping, and just be close to it for a while until you get in tune with the energy and it gets in tune with you. But I doused before with a paper clip and a piece of my hair, you know, tied to it. So it worked fine.
You're so creative. Greg and Kathy, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I've used them before, and I was kind of taught the beginning is say your name, like my name's Roger, and then you can figure out where's your no, or my name's Greg, and you're going to see which way it moves. So that's concrete, you know, and it's a good way to figure out how yours.
Yeah.
Just as a footnote.
Yeah.
Another cool trick that I learned from this Dowser from Poland, she said when you first start using a pendulum, to start holding it at the very base, and then whoever you're dowsing for, like if it's yourself, you want to find your frequency. So everybody's frequency is going to be a different length on the chain. So you start with at the base, and then you start walking your fingers up as you're thinking of the person that you're dowsing for. And then it will start moving and reacting when you get to the spot that you're supposed to hold it at.
Oh.
Yeah, that worked for me too. Same thing. I have a certain length to where it starts talking to me, and if I'm not there, it's not responding the same.
Yeah. So if you're asking personal questions that you want the answers to, you would hold it at that length. But try dowsing for somebody else, and then you would have to hold it in a different spot on the pendulum. Do you know what I mean? As you're thinking of them, most likely you'll hold it at a different spot.
That's interesting. I never hold mine at the top. I just hold it wherever it feels natural, I guess. But yeah, all right.
Me too.
Cool.
But you can use pendulums for a lot of things, you know, for seeing if something's good for you or not. You know, say, you know, is this good for me? And then you would hold it over top of it, and you can see if it starts moving clockwise, to me, that means it's good for me.
Yeah.
If it moves counterclockwise, it's bad for me. Pyramid's not a good one to use because, okay, my chapstick. Yeah, even though it's Vaseline chapstick.
Oh.
Now it's our chapped, I guess.
We went from geomagnetic stress to pendulum. Sue, did you want to ask your question? Where's Sue? Sue.
I think she said, go ahead.
No, go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. I mean, it's basic.
No, go ahead. You can ask it.
Well, I literally have ants on a lilac tree. I just said, what about that?
Well, I don't know. So I have a lilac bush that's right on the edge of a geopathic stress line. It's like right in the same area that the geopathic stress runs underneath our home. And one half of the lilac bush is dying. It used to be one half was white, one half was purple, and the white half has died. So it could just be that it's half and half, you know. But if the ants are there, there's definitely geopathic stress there. Is the bush flourishing though? Is it doing good?
Yeah, it's doing great. And we're next to a lake.
Oh, really? Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to come out and look. Send some pictures.
Any other questions? Those are good questions tonight. And interesting. I know I'm going to have other questions after this is all said and done. Because again, I look at it like this is same thing, but kind of a different topic. When I used to do investigations of stone chambers up in New York, they all had water sources underneath them as well.
Mhm.
And it didn't present as a bad thing per se, because what we were finding out was that they were energy portals, because of those water sources were helping with that as well. So, you know, I don't know, you know, is geomagnetic stress a bad thing? I don't know. Is it considered more bad than it is good?
Well, it really depends. It can be good or bad,
Right.
depending. But I think for spirit activity. It could cause negative spirit activity in your home. You know, you have geopathic stress that's going uncured. And I apologize, my dogs are wrestling.
That's all right. They're good.
Yeah, it could cause you to see a lot of different, you know, spiritual type things and stuff too in your home, I guess. But you're also a powerful energy transformer as well. So it's all your intention behind it. You know, when I first moved to my uncle's home here, him and my aunt used to fight all the time. He ran over her with the truck one time and broke her back. That's how bad they fought all the time. And then their kids inherited the home and they were addicted to drugs, and a couple of their friends overdosed here. And I was kind of scared to move here because of the energy, but we cleansed it. We cured, you know, we cleansed the energy before we moved in, and it feels lovely. It feels great, you know? So it's all about the intention that you have behind it as well. But the pyramids, the water runs underneath the pyramids. That's part of what powers them, you know?
Yeah.
Underground water, put a pyramid on top of it.
Yep. That's exactly right. Yeah. Hal, one question yet, and then we're gonna end here because we're a little way after 8 o'clock. So go ahead.
Does sleeping on a waterbed affect?
That's a
You
good
know-
question.
My trick question. I
It
don't
is
know.
a trick question.
Well, I have actually slept on a waterbed since 1982. Right now I have one of those 8-tube water tubes, so it's not like being in the ocean. It's like, and it looks like a real mattress, but I've slept on water since 1982. Does that?
Water is a very powerful cleansing tool as well that we can program because it has a crystalline structure. You know, if you look at Veda Austin's work, you can really see how powerful water is. So program your water before you go to sleep. You know, talk to it and tell it what you want to dream about and see if that helps. You know, do things like that. I mean, you should check out, if you haven't seen Veda Austin's work, check her out. She literally impresses upon water with a picture. She'll put a picture, put a petri dish of water on top of it, and then freezes it using her technique. That picture, an image of that picture that the water was over top of, will come in the ice. You know, she asked the water the other day if it knew her name, and a V and an A were written in the ice when she froze it. Like,
Wow.
it is crazy what is going on. And there's so many things in this world that we are unaware of that we need to start opening our eyes to. But simple things like that, we all play with water every day. You know, we need to start tapping into that power too.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm thinking. It goes back to the water underneath, you know, putting water in a jug and putting it underneath the pyramid for a length of time. And then you've just activated or charged, I guess, that water.
Yep. So I did an experiment once I found Veda Austin's research and I purchased her freezing technique, so I knew how to do it. I had a jug of water sitting in my Russian pyramid, my meditation pyramid. It was sitting there for about 2 weeks charging. All I did was pour some of that water in the petri dish, put it in the freezer, froze it. I think it's like 5 minutes or something with her technique. And there was a pyramid inside of a pyramid. It wasn't a Giza pyramid. It was the Russian geometry. It was a little wider than the Russian geometry, but you could see what was going on. It was a tall, steep pyramid inside another tall, steep pyramid. And if I had that picture, I have it somewhere. I'll have to share it with you guys next week or something.
Wow.
But it was really cool. It was in the ice.
That's impressive. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. All right. Anyone else? Any last minute questions here before we end the evening? This was very interesting. I appreciate this. A lot. There's a lot to know or a lot to find out about these things. Because I mean, how many people really understood magnetic stress?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what I mean. I never heard of it until a couple of years ago, and I was like, "What the heck is this?"
Yeah.
And then it told you how powerful. I mean, it makes bees relocate. You know, that's how powerful that energy is. If you are a Dowser and you cure that geopathic stress line and pound a piece of copper in it and deflect it, instantly those bees will fly away and find another home.
Right.
So,
Makes me want to go out and douse around where our bees are at, where we have our hives, and see if they're happy there. I mean, they're there, but yeah, okay, awesome.
well, we need to protect the bees in a lot of ways right now.
Yes, we do.
Because, we lost half of our bee population here in Canada in last year alone, I believe. So, yeah, we're losing our bees. And if we lose all our bees, then we're next. So,
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. It was awesome. And our next meeting, I'd actually have to look, is what is our next meeting called? What is it? Hang on, let me look here. Oh, so our next is grounding. How about that? So that actually, no, wait, is it grounding? Yes, it is grounding.
So in that one, I'll show you guys how to use a multimeter to test your own energy, how you can rig up your a multimeter, which is an easy, cheap tool to get to start testing your own energy, and show you how powerful grounding is and how it reduces your energy as soon as you touch instantly, as soon as you touch the grounding mat or step on the ground.
Right.
And you have to be able to have a tool to detect that for yourself. So
somebody said, I think last week, they looked it up. It's at Harbor Freight. You can get a multimeter for like $8, six to $8 or something. It was really inexpensive.
One that has it goes out 2 decimal points. Some of the cheaper ones don't, which I learned the hard way because I bought one of the cheaper ones and then it didn't work. So I had to get it. But
and what, okay, so what do you need? What do you need to look for when you're looking for a multimeter? How many decimal points?
I'll have to share the one that I ordered with you. I'm not sure exactly. There's a whole bunch of different buttons on it that I don't even know what the heck they do, but I just use the one.
Right. Okay.
That's all I need it for.
Okay. All right. All right. Very good. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Yes. Thanks, everybody. See you later. Have a nice night. Lots of love.